Sourdough is naturally leavened bread, which means it doesn't use commercial yeast to rise. This is good information to have in case you find yourself in a survival situation. It is one of those old-fashioned traditional skills of incredible value. Before there was such a thing as baking yeast, there were sourdough starters. A sourdough starter is a simple mixture of grain flour and water. This simple mixture gathers wild yeast from the air that inoculates the mixture. When fed daily, it grows and proliferates and creates a beautiful bubbly concoction that causes bread to rise. Almost all baking yeast on the market is made from genetically modified yeast. Yeast is harvested from the brewing process of beer. The products that go into store-bought beer are genetically modified, so that makes the yeast also genetically modified. Naturally leavened bread has some significant benefits over yeasted bread. Consider grain as it comes from the field, wrapped in a teeny package. That one little grain contains untold generations of history. Built into every grain are protective factors to keep it from sprouting out of season. This protection also prevents crops from dying out. However, these protective factors are hard to digest, and cooking them properly helps to break them down for digestion. Grains growing in a field are exposed to moisture and sunshine, causing weathering. This weathering helps to break down the phytic acid and the enzyme inhibitors. In our gut, those two ingredients can cause a great deal of irritation over time. Phytic acid is also known to cause problems with mineral absorption. Along with the toxins sprayed on conventional grains, phytic acid and enzyme inhibitors are today causing gut issues and celiac disease. We must be careful about what kind of bread we put into our bodies. So, even if it's organic and non-GMO, if you're using regular yeast and making bread in a couple of hours, it's not enough time to break down the phytic acid and enzyme inhibitors. The sourdough bread process breaks those down and gives you a more nutrient-rich profile while preventing possible adverse outcomes. Besides all that, it just tastes good. When bread dough ferments for 7 to 12 hours, it will have a far more complex flavor in the end loaf. Sourdough overall is a very beneficial means of making bread and bread products. With a sourdough starter, you can make sandwich bread, artisan bread, waffles, pancakes, tortilla shells, tortilla chips, etc. The list of things you can make is a mile long. For my starter, I only use rye flour. You don't taste the rye in the end loaf, but rye flour is great for starters because of its high gluten content. I prefer to purchase rye berries at Azure Standard. It's a great company that doesn't use pesticides or chemicals, and I've had a lot of good luck with the things I've purchased from them. I just grind the berries and sift the flour. I do this because the berries are fresh and will last many years. If you purchase already pre-ground flour, you don't know how long it's been sitting on the shelf, and after a while, it loses its nutrient content. If you cannot purchase the rye berries and ground your own flour, your local grocery store will probably have this pre-ground rye flour or something similar. To begin, you will need a 1/4 cup measuring cup, a clean quart-sized glass jar, preferably a wide-mouth jar, distilled or unchlorinated water, and a knife or fork to stir. Measure 1/4 cup of the rye flour and put it into the jar. Measure the same with the water, then stir it well. Put the lid on the quart-sized wide-mouth jar and put on the kitchen countertop at room temperature. Each day, when you take the lid off, wild yeast in the air will gather in the jar. The next day, come back and do the same thing. Add 1/4 cup rye flour and 1/4 cup water and stir well. Do this for the next 5 to 7 days. Your kitchen temperature will determine how fast the sourdough starts. The warmer it is, the faster it will make. So every day, put the 1/4 cup rye flour and 1/4 cup water in the jar and stir. After the 5 to 7 days, you should start to see bubbles. It will also smell a bit yeasty. For the next couple of weeks, be prepared to make a lot of sourdough breads. I say this because it is important to keep your sourdough starter going for a couple of weeks before you put it into the refrigerator. Make breads and other things with your starter and keep it out on your countertop at room temperature. After the 2 weeks, if it is very bubbly and smells yeasty, you know you have an active starter. At this point, you can place it in the refrigerator. When you put it into the refrigerator, it still stays active as long as you take it out once a week and feed it. Take it out, set it on the countertop for 4 to 5 hours, and let it come to room temperature. After that time, you can add 1/4 of a cup of rye flour and 1/4 cup distilled or unchlorinated water and stir. Then you can set it back into the refrigerator and it's ready to go for another week. Anytime you want to use your starter, it is a good idea to pull it out of the refrigerator and let it come to room temperature. Making a sourdough starter isn't difficult, it just takes a little time and patience. Stay tuned to make sure you don't miss the recipes I make from this sourdough starter. If you enjoyed watching this content, let me know in the comments below. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you for watching this video. Please continue to help me help you by liking, sharing, and subscribing.